The story for Saints Row 4 is set 5 years after the third game and follows the leader of the 3rd Street Saints once again, who has now become the President of the United States of America. All is going smoothly, you're being a president, curing cancer, whatnot, until aliens invade the great land of America, and the president, along with his cabinet members, get abducted by Zinyak, the leader of the aliens. Luckily, the president breaks free and must now save his cabinet members and get revenge against Zinyak for enslaving us Americans. The story is just as silly and nonsensical as the third game, which is great because that felt fresh all the way throughout. I always looked forward to where the next mission was going to take me, and this is no different. The many zany characters, either old or new, are endearing and hilarious as always. A lot of humor is very immature, but there's a lot of very clever gags sprinkled out throughout this 20 to 25 hour experience. Overall, I think the story is a lot of fun and extremely funny. It always keeps you entertained, and hell, it's just a good old time. So there you go, there's the story. Now let's talk about the sound, which, like the third, Saints Row 4 features a huge cast of popular voice actors and celebrities scattered through the nonsensical story. Your character alone has 7 different voice actors that you can choose from. Some noticeable ones include Troy Baker, Laura Bailey, and Nolan North. The voice acting is so much fun. You can just tell they're having a great time recording these lines, and it's always entertaining to see what new celebrity cameo will pop up out of nowhere. The sound design is pretty good for the most part. All the guns, superpowers, all of the people in the city itself, everything sounds really good. There is times where the guns and the superpowers will just cut out of nowhere and you hear no audio, which is kind of awkward, but for the most part, it does work. It's really good. The soundtrack is filled with cheesy music from the 80s and 90s that we all love, and plenty of dubstep for all you youngsters out there. The soundtrack goes well with the game's style. Overall, the sound adds to that entertainment factor for the most part, with the occasional glitch here and there with the sound design. So overall, sound is great. Now, the graphics for Saints Row 4 are not the best out there, but there is some nice stuff to see, definitely. The superpowers you acquire are pretty fun to look at, and the chaos that some can inflict is a sight to behold. Just all these cars blowing up and people flying around. It does look really cool. The character models for the main characters, especially your character, which can of course be customized, all look really cool, and while the animations are cartoony, they do work for the game. Now, there is a lot of muddy looking textures, and the world itself is pretty much the same as the third one, with only minor differences and a bleaker, uglier color palette, which I felt was kinda lazy. They could have did a little bit more with the world itself, but it's pretty much the same with only a couple of differences here and there. Now, another positive for the graphics is that I really like what they do with the graphics in certain levels of the story. They would actually completely change the style just to fit that one level. I don't really want to spoil it, but I thought it was really cool that the graphics had many different styles than just one. Overall, it's not amazing looking, but it does some unique things, and it doesn't look terrible. It looks good for the most part. So overall, graphics here are not bad. They're good. Now, the gameplay. Saints Row 4 takes the third-person open-world shooting of the last game, keeps all that good stuff, and gives us some really fun-to-use superpowers to have a blast with. The gunplay is exactly the same as the third game, except with more crazier weaponry. It's still very solid and has that oomph that I really like to feel when I fire a gun into someone's brain in a video game. Like I said, the weaponry is crazy just like the last game, and you'll just have a great time using weapons like the dubstep gun and the incinerator on your enemies. Firearms are fun, but what you really want to use are the superpowers. You start off with a high jump and a super sprint, which are fun to use, but you can actually start to unlock more by completing both story missions and side missions in the game. You'll start to unlock projectile attacks that let you throw ice balls, which freeze your enemies, or fireballs, which put them on fire, and even telekinesis, which lets you pick up enemies or objects and throw them at long distances. There are a few more really fun powers to get, but I already said too much. I want you to find out what they are when you're playing the game. You'll be surprised. Now, of course, you can even upgrade these powers by finding clusters, which are these big glowing things in the environments. Along with the regular upgrade system for your guns and character, you can use these collected clusters to buy new upgrades for your powers, which will give them new abilities or make them even more powerful. The combination of the solid and crazy gunplay with the entertaining to use superpowers creates a game that almost never stops becoming addicting to play. Being able to jump over an entire building and then glide to the next one and run across that one is a great feeling that not many games like this can replicate. The world that you explore has plenty of side missions to do, which are all over the top just like everything else in the game. Some will have you destroy property and get a high score, take control of alien bases, run into oncoming traffic and rack up a hospital bill, which is one of my favorites from this one and the last game, and even race around the city with your super sprint. There are times where the placement of some of these side missions make them feel a little bit too repetitive, but they are still fun diversions from the main story. The many different references to past video games, mainly Mass Effect, will leave you in stitches, and even some of the sight gags will at least make you chuckle. Hell, they even use glitches as a gag in the game, which is one of the first times I've ever seen that. Randomly, you'll see a character's legs get really long or head get really big, or you'll see a car flipped over and driving itself, and you just see these weird things, and they're meant to be there. It's not an actual glitch, they're fake glitches, but they're actually really funny. I mean, it's just an entertaining time all the way throughout, but I did encounter some problems with the game. I played this game on Xbox 360 and I had a ton of performance issues where the game would lag or even freeze, so I had to start the game back up. There were even times where I had real glitches, not fake ones, that prevented me from playing the game or even screwed up the visuals so I could barely tell what was going on. I highly doubt these were made on purpose. If so, that was a bad idea because it ruins the gameplay at times. Besides those, I have a couple of other minor complaints, which includes the lack of driving in the game. Seeing that you can run way faster than any car in the game, there really is no reason to drive besides this, sometimes where you have to in missions and whatnot, but there really is no reason to drive. And also, a lot of this does feel a little bit too much like Saints Row the Third, which will turn off some people and go, hey, this should just be an expansion pack. Now, that's not really a complaint for me. I didn't feel that way, but a lot of people will. But overall, I think Saints Row 4 is an excellent package. It's a lot of fun. It's really long. It's about 25, maybe 30 hours altogether after you're done with all the collectibles and side missions and story missions. And it's replayable as all hell. It's so much fun. Just upgrading your character, experiencing the story, laughing at everything. It's just an entertaining time, just like Saints Row the Third. And I can't wait to see what Volition cooks up in the next Saints Row, if there is one. This one is a blast to play. Definitely go check it out. Saints Row the Third gets the Gore seal of approval. That's my review. Thank you and goodbye.